the BPO industry is going to start growing significantly in 2021 because, like I said earlier, now is the time when they're figuring out how much of the organization is going to survive, and from what will survive, how much will be pushed to the Philippines because of lower cost and increasing productivity, the revival of tourism. And especially now, people take for granted that we built 8 airports, 9 airports in the last 10 years. And most of those airports were completed in under 4 years. Then you've got the remittances coming through. You've got foreign direct investors coming through. I mean, all those things are going to propel us for a quicker recovery than what most people think. So Iloilo, to me, and I've said this for the last 8 years, 10 years, that it is the best example of what happens when national government, local government, the business community, and the academe work hand in hand very closely together to transform society, the local government environment. Bonifacio land prices have tracked the GDP for the last 20 years, right? And with only one exception. Every time the GDP contracts, the best case of Bonifacio is status quo, meaning it didn't fall with the GDP. I think Alabang is the best place to live. I think it's the best place to work in. I think the prices are irrationally discounted. I mean, how do you explain Forbes Park at 400,000 or Das Marinas at 550,000 per square meter? And then you've got Ayala Alabang, which is the best village in the Philippines, I think, priced at 100,000 per square meter, 1/4 of what Makati is, or 1/5 compared to Dasma. That discount is irrational. It should be much, much closer to Makati prices, but it's not.
We were talking about a lot of things that have been shifting and pivoting in this new normal. Since a lot of people have been getting used to e-commerce, will we ever go back, or how long will it take before we go back to levels where foot traffic is where it was in 2019 in malls or other retail establishments?
I think utilitarian shopping will be pretty much online. So grocery, it doesn't really matter what the pasta looks like for as long as you know the brand, right? You don't need to smell it. You don't need to touch it. The broccoli, maybe you might want to touch it, right? But utilitarian shopping will move online predominantly, okay? But when it comes to buying stuff like toys, shoes for ladies, or shoes for men, because our feet sizes are different, or whether we look fat or slender in a shirt, those things will immediately go back to brick and mortar. There is no pleasure in shopping online for clothes, bags, shoes, cologne, makeup, nothing, zero. Okay? And people are only doing that dahil wala silang magawa because they cannot stomach K-drama anymore or Netflix. And they will shop sometime in the day only because that's the only thing they can do. But as soon as we are allowed back into the malls, we will rush back into the malls. We will go ice skating, we will hold hands with our lovers and watch a movie and be sweet with other people again, and we will go shopping like crazy. Because that is human nature, and that has been in the genetic profile of humanity for thousands of years, and a virus is not going to change that.
Great insight. So we're going back eventually, especially as the vaccine triggers people to become more confident also in the next few months. For people who have cash right now, their cash flow has been uninterrupted, then they have capital that they can deploy. Do you suggest right now that they be aggressive already in looking out for bargains, or would you say that they should be at least a bit more cautious still based on what's going on?
That's a good question. Now, speaking of bargains, there have been very few.
Hmm.
So a lot of buyers, we've had more buyers say, I want a COVID discount if I want to buy anything today. And I go and say, okay, yeah, okay, but there are very few COVID discounts. There's a lot of COVID discounts in the middle market and below, but nobody frankly wants to buy that. If you want landed property in the business districts, there's maybe 3 lots, 4, 6. It's not much compared to the amount of money that's out there. Now, yes, be selective because it's very high risk. I've always said to people, look, if you don't have Bonifacio or Makati in your portfolio, then you should have for the last 10 years done that. And if you haven't done that today, there's very few lots out there for sale. And we just have to figure out another way to de-risk you from the property market, because people will be reminded in this crisis that there is a balance between supply and demand. And they have to understand the drivers of demand. If they miss that and ignore that, then they are going to get hit very badly by this crisis.
You talk a lot about the developments in the country in terms of infrastructure. Should people position in projects that are completing in a year or two from now as well, that could give them a possible upside better than, say, Bonifacio or Makati? Would that be a good strategy for those who were late in the game and were not able to position?
Yes. So, number one, the trains, there are 3 trains that are under construction, and theoretically, you could buy as close to the station as you can, because those stations will have a dramatic impact on movement of people, right? Well, yes and no. You just have to look at LRT and Taft Avenue all the way to Recto, all the way to Rizal Avenue. I don't think anybody there has said, wow, the station has really added to the project feasibility, right? If ever any did benefit, it's marginal, right? It's not really because of the train. If you look at the very famous MRT 3 or whatever, 1, I don't know, I lost count, but the one on EDSA, I don't think anybody is saying, wow, the train was a big contributor to the success of this project. SMDC might, but frankly, I don't think the commuters of the train line are the same ones that are buying or renting in the condos. Yeah.
Got it.
I think it's just an added plus to be close to an MRT station, hoping that one day the government or somebody will figure out how to run those things efficiently and professionally so it doesn't look like a mess.
What's your take on a REIT, as they purchased another building in Ortigas, which was part of Ayala Land over the past years, and they just placed it as part of their portfolio? How does this increase their value and yield as well?
Ayala Land is the largest owner of office space in the Philippines for now, as of now. It's probably not going to stay that way. But the amount of office space they have, that they own, versus what they've put in that REIT is negligible, right? What they put in that REIT is negligible. 4 buildings with a total footprint of, I don't know, what is it now? Is it 200,000 square meters? Maybe somewhere there. That to me is a trial balloon. But the REIT industry in the Philippines will jump significantly. So you've got our REIT, the Robinson Street. You've got the DD REIT, which is the Double Dragon REIT coming up. So those are the 2 front runners. You've got MegaWorld for sure coming up with their own REIT. You've got SM, and I am so excited about the SM REIT because that potentially could be as big in market cap as the mothership.
Oh.
So, and nobody has the footprint that SM has. The scale and the footprint and the presence and the tenant mix, the geographic diversity, nobody has that the way SM has it. And the land bank alone, my God. So what can you read? Office space is the simple low-lying fruit. You've got hospitals, you've got roads, you've got bridges, you've got tollways, you've got hotels, logistics, warehouses, airports, retail banks, bank outlets, food outlets. So Jollibee can theoretically read all the stores it owns, right? So they don't just sell chicken and chicken joy palabok anymore and mango pie. They can read all those stores. BDO can read all their branches, stopping them from doing so. It's very exciting because they will offer the market 5-6% yield, right? The retail market will think, that is too low. Masyadong mabagal yan. But you know what? The institutional investors will say, oh my God, I've got bonds earning 0.6 before withholding tax percent per annum. And then I'll just shift that to A REIT, B REIT, C REIT, M REIT, S REIT, R REIT, and make 5 times what I could have lending to the government or to corporates with very little risk. I mean, you look at the office sector, 95% of rents continue to be paid throughout the COVID crisis, right? Unless you are a micro, small, medium-sized enterprise who've been given a grant by the government to defer your rent for 6 months, the corporates, the conglomerates continue to pay rent. And that will ensure the cash flows for REIT. And this is like one of the worst crises humanity's ever been hit with economically. It shows you how resilient the office sector is globally, not just in the Philippines, but especially in the Philippines. And the best testament to that is how Ayala had the guts to time the A-REIT and stick it out all the way through to the COVID crisis. You know, the index went down by how much in March from February?
We dropped to 4.5.
To 4.5 from 7, right? So that's a 50-60% erosion in value. A-REIT only lost 10%, right? And then now it's up 10, it's plus 10%. And if you look at Singapore, which is the golden standard of REITs globally, the last 10 years, the Singapore REIT index gave you a significant advantage and return over the Straits Times index. You know, over a span of 10 years. So I'm not talking about blips. I'm talking about a 10-year period. And you would have been way ahead in the market holding on to Singapore REITs. And I think you will have the same resilience and investment returns in the Philippines. Why? Because two things. The institutional investors are tired of riding roller coaster stocks. And second, the collapsing interest rates will drive them to something more stable.
What would be your closing message for everyone for 2020, or anything that they could look forward to as an investor for 2021 as well?
I think now is the time to be invested, whether you want to go into the stock market or the property market. There is a euphoria that people will experience sometime when the vaccines are onshore. Why do I say that? Because there are many factors that are working together to make the Philippines significantly better in this recovery. And I'll just bear with me as I name them. Okay, first one is the amazing fiscal management of the country by Secretary Dominguez and team. Okay, because of the way they've managed it, they've been able to borrow money, record amounts at record interest rates, historically low. The 10-year T-bill, the 25-year T-bill are historical lows for the Philippines. And why is that important? Because that will translate to a mortgage market that will emerge in the Philippines beginning next year when the banks start releasing funds again to the market. What is a mortgage market? The mortgage market means in the developed countries, you can borrow 30-year money fixed for 30 years at 2-3%. You know, in the Philippines, you can borrow money at 9 to 11% if you want to fix it for 10 years. That will choke you. That will kill you, right? Very expensive money, 10 years. 10 years pa lang yun. But just imagine if you're able to borrow 10-year money at 7% or 8%. If you're able to borrow 20-year money at 7, 8%. It's still high globally, but okay na yun for Philippines if you're guaranteed a 20-year fixed rate or a 30-year fixed rate, and that will have a tremendous impact on real estate, especially in the housing market, because that will empower many people to borrow money safely so that they can finally afford their own home and they don't have to rely on grandma and grandpa for housing. Okay? Which the middle class of today and below still are living with grandma and grandpa's resources. Right? Record low interest rates and the credit rating upgrade, right? And the amount of borrowing that they've done flowing into this economy is just going to translate to pump priming. Number two is the massive injection of infrastructure. There are 12 projects that should have been completed in the next 12 months, but they're now delayed because of COVID. So they will be completed within a period of 18 months. That single biggest injection of infrastructure the Philippines has ever seen in its history is going to translate to significant economic productivity per capita. Meaning, instead of people losing their time in the car 6 hours a day, they will have 3 hours, 4 hours a day each day now for other things other than sitting in the car and gaining weight. Number three, the BPO industry is going to start growing significantly in 2021 because, like I said earlier, now is the time when they're figuring out how much of the organization is going to survive, and from what will survive, how much will be pushed to the Philippines because of lower cost and increasing productivity. Number four, the revival of tourism. And especially now, people take for granted that we built 8 airports, 9 airports in the last 10 years. And most of those airports were completed in under 4 years. I mean, 4 years ago to today, right? I mean, if you look at Davao and Iloilo Airport, the first two, right? But after that, and this was 10 years ago, these two. But then after that, we built Mactan, Panglao, San Vicente, El Nido, Siargao. There's 2, 3 more. And then the most exciting thing is Clark. Because Clark is going to open tourism to Northern Luzon, to all the global surfers out there who will enjoy La Union, right? And Pangasinan, and Ilocos, and Pagudpod. I mean, before, if you wanted to go to Pagudpod, you had to, kawawa ka naman, you had to fly to Naiya and then crawl your way to Balintawak. And then from Balintawak, start your 14-hour journey by car going to Pagudpod. And what many people don't realize is that the roads from Clark all the way to Baguio to Pagudpod are beautiful drives. It's almost like your Pinoy version of San Francisco, California road trek, right? And you know, Marvin, I'm not exaggerating. The T-Plex, the NLEX today, they're some of the most beautiful roads you can see in the world, right? And the coastlines of La Union are similar to Australia's coastline, except that it's darker sand. Not because we're Pinoy sand, but because it's volcanic. So tourism, global tourism. You know, the access to all these islands bypassing Manila is going to make the foreign tourist experience of going to the Philippines so much better because you don't have to go through the chaos of Manila. You know, from Hong Kong, you land to Clark. From Clark, you fly to Boracay or El Nido or Palawan, to Puerto Princesa or to Boracay directly, bypassing Manila. That experience is so fantastic. And then when you get out and you get into the car, it's not going to take you 1 hour to look for your baggage and go for immigration. It'll only take you 10 minutes. And then from there, you go to your car and the drive is so smooth. So many things are working in favor of the Philippines. What else? Then you've got the remittances coming through. You've got foreign direct investors coming through. I mean, all those things are going to propel us for a quicker recovery than what most people think.
So much to look forward to for next year. For those who want to hear more of David's insights, this is what I'll do. I'll put the link below for Leechiu Property Consultants YouTube channel, so you can watch more of his insights even after this video. And subscribe to their channel. You don't have to subscribe to mine. Just go to their channel, watch their videos, consume their content, because you learn more from David Leechiu more than me. But before I let you go, David...
That's not true. But thank you, Marvin, for your kind endorsement.
Before I let you go, people like this portion of the video where we do fast talk. I'll give you two options. No right or wrong. Pick one. Just pick one. Top of your head. Very, very quick. Okay, let's do this. Steak or salmon?
Steak.
Jordan or Kobe?
Jordan, because I'm older.
Success or significance?
Success.
Large, massive mansion or travel the world?
Travel the world.
Win 100 times but lose 50 times in between, or win once and never lose at all?
I would take losing.
100 million doing what you love, or 1 billion doing something you don't love?
1 billion.
Work hard, work smart.
Work hard.
US dollar, euro.
Dollar.
Bitcoin, gold.
Gold.
Fitness, finance.
Finance.
City or country?
City.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Cut loss or hold?
Cut loss.
Die with a lot of money or die fulfilling purpose?
Die with a lot of money because money usually solves a lot of problems.
Win one time, big time, or win small but repeatedly?
Small and repeatedly.
Got it. Thank you so much, David Leechiu, for joining us. I hope you guys got a lot from this, and I hope it was something very, very insightful. So thank you guys. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, and God bless.